That sounds good. So we are going to start with scams, hacks, and breaches news. And for all you one password users, please take note. And this is one reason why don't delay on updating your software, your firmware. Don't delay on updates because you could be patching something that you're not aware is a vulnerability. But 1Password 8 for Mac flaw allows attackers to steal credentials, and here's how to patch it. 1Password has shared that its software for Mac has a vulnerability that exposes users to potentially serious threat. Along with attackers being able to compromise credentials, the flaw can give bad actors access to your account unlock key. That's not good. 1Password revealed the details of the flaw in a security post. Fortunately, the vulnerability has been reported as exploited, or has not been reported exploited in the wild, but it's still important to update your software to make sure you're safe. Fortunately, you need to be on 8.10.36, available now, fixes this vulnerability, so be sure to check the build you have installed. This reminds me, I was working with someone last week, and they signed up some time, and they're like, my hard drive is full. And I'm like, oh, this is a crypto user, so they have some core wallet that's just building and building and building. And so I went in and looked at their computer remotely. And I was like, okay, well, they had a SIA wallet, but the SIA wallet wasn't that big. But we're talking, hundreds of gigs. And I was like, okay, this is a new one to me. And as it turns out, it was their antivirus, through spending like an hour figuring this out. It was their antivirus that had a flaw and that they needed to update. Now, the issue was the antivirus that they were using didn't have an automatic update. It didn't say, go here and download an update. There are some pieces of software like that you have to make sure are updated. I mean, I don't love that feature. It could be the way that it's licensed. It's that type of thing. But just because the software doesn't say that it needs updates doesn't necessarily mean that it does or doesn't. So be careful, and especially with software that is just not necessarily mainstream, you may need to manually update that. So just be aware. Bitrace warns of new crypto scam using QR codes. And the QR codes, I will never scan them if it's like in a park, a national forest, anything like that, because you don't know if it's legit. Now, if you're going to a company, legitimate company's website, or you maybe get something in the mail. I don't know about that one, but be careful when you scan QR codes, because it's just like the same, those tiny URLs or bit.ly or bit.ly. You don't know where those URLs are going to end up. And according to social media posts by blockchain analyst firm Bitrace, scanning the wrong QR code could drain your wallet. Bitrace is warning of a new crypto scam where theft is carried out through a payment QR code transfer test, essentially deceiving users into authorizing wallets. According to Bitrace, the scam follows a specific pattern. First, the scammer proposes that the user swap tokens over the counter through a wallet-to-wallet transfer rather than an exchange, and offering an exchange rate that beats the market. So if something beats the market, just be careful. That's a warning sign. That's when the scammer asks the user to partake in a small payment test, which purportedly involves returning the USDT by scanning a QR code. The QR code directs the user to a third-party website asking them to confirm the test transaction. Clicking confirm steals the user's wallet authorization, Bitrace says. According to Bitrace, at least 27 wallet holders appear to have been victimized, collectively losing around $120,000 in USDT. The attacks took place between July 11th and July 17th. The scammer used the same wallet address in every instance. So just be careful when you're scanning a QR code or going to any URL that is unknown. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is, but just be safe. Next, we're going into crypto news. So the IRS shares new crypto tax form, invites industry input. The IRS has introduced a revised tax form, the 1099-DA, designed specifically for crypto investors using brokerage accounts. This new form, set to be implemented in 2026, aims to simplify the tax reporting process for those involved in cryptocurrency transactions. The IRS claims that the updated form will bring ease and clarity. Yeah, ease and clarity. The IRS, that doesn't work. To the U.S. crypto tax filings. The 1099 DA will be used by brokers, primarily centralized crypto exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken, to report certain sales and exchange transactions that are taxable events to the IRS. Latest draft of the 1099 DA is notably more streamlined than the earlier version, thank goodness, which faced criticism for its extensive data requirements and potentially privacy concerns. The revised form has removed fields for wallet addresses, that's great, and transaction IDs, which were previously mandatory and sparked significant privacy debates. Additionally, the form no longer requires the time of the transaction, only the date. A previous section asking filers to identify their type of brokerage service, including options like kiosk operator and digital asset payment processors, have also been eliminated. That is great news for all of us because all the information they were asking for earlier was a privacy nightmare, especially if someone gets a hold of your tax return or if it's leaked, like they've done in the past. But crypto fat fingers,
George,
$90,000. Yep.
I thought it was interesting that when RFK gave his speech at the Bitcoin conference, that he actually noted from stage that Congress has still to this day never given the IRS the ability to tax crypto. Like they haven't, passed a law for them and said, okay, there's a law where you have to pay taxes on crypto. I thought that was very interesting that during a presidential campaign, a potential, you know, upcoming president, possible, maybe not potential, but possible, is sitting there on stage and saying, by the way, Congress has never, ever passed a law for the IRS giving them the right to tax your crypto gains. And of course, he was saying this because he himself said he would have made it a law that there's no taxes on crypto. But I just found that so interesting and telling that he was going through that. And so also this form you're talking about, the 1099, isn't that the one we had up on the screen 6 months ago in one of our live
Yes.
streams?
Yeah. And
Only
they
it
totally changed
only
it.
this is the new one where it doesn't you don't have to have wallet addresses and all that stuff.
Correct. Yeah, I couldn't find an image for the new form, but you don't have to put the transaction ID, the wallet address, the time, which they could narrow it down. What the transaction might be, but you just have to put the date. It's very it's not as detailed, which is very helpful for all of us. And who knows? They're still asking for industry input, so it may change. And this is only going to start in 2026. So we'll have to see what comes out. I think the other thing that was really kind of interesting, and I did not include it in this, is this part of the my report, is that there is legislation going through uh, one of the houses, and they're asking that if you use crypto in a transaction, like if you buy coffee with it, if you purchase something with it, that you don't have the same tax issues. Like there's no tax on the gains, because figuring out the gains on a purchase is just insane. So that slowly, we'll see how, if it gets past either of the House or the Senate. But I thought that was really kind of interesting, as we integrate this, because I think one of the things that they're looking at, and is the fact that they want the crypto space, the crypto platforms, the stable coins, to suck up as much of the U.S. debt as they can. Like we had talked before, they're hoping that stable coins suck up at about $13 trillion in debt, so that they can have the stable coins backed by the faith of the U.S. government, which I don't know, but that's what their goal is. So that may force some legislation to go through that will also allow stable coins to be more mainstream, and the adoption to pick up. So we'll see. Politics is very interesting.
Hmm.
Crypto user fat fingers a $90,000 fee for a $2,000 ETH transfer. people, be careful when you're doing this. Make sure you check everything. But an unknown crypto user appears to have accidentally spent $90,000 in gas fees in what should have been a simple transfer of $2,200 in Ether. At the time of the publication, gas fees on the Ethereum network are hovering at a yearly low between 2 and 4 GUI. 2 and 4 GUI, there was another story I didn't include, and gas fees are really, really low. So just a hint, if you have an old wallet and you want to move some of your ETH or your, really it's ERC20s, because that's what costs a lot, do it now while the GUI gas fee is low. When crypto really starts to run, those gas fees just skyrocket. So as we continue, the lows between 2 and 4 GUI, meaning that a transfer of ETH should only have cost a maximum of $5. In percentage terms, the user overpaid by more than 1.7 million%. Ooh, that's got to hurt. So DeFi hacks remain a major threat despite 50% decline in 2023. Off-chain hacks, including private key thefts, are on the rise, accounting for about 57.5% of the amount stolen in 2023. Halburn warns that 21% of hacked protocols used multi-sig wallets. Get that right there. Multi-sig is supposed to protect you from like one person sending coins if there is multi ownership of a wallet. So multi-sig means you need to have two or more people sign the transaction, and that is the majority of hacks occurred on protocols that were not audited. Basically what that means is that just because two people sign a transaction doesn't mean it's a good transaction. So if you're a multi-sig and you're like, oh, nothing can happen to me, 21% of the hacks were from multi-sig. And so it means that they either sent it to the wrong address, or they clicked on a QR code and sent it to a hacker. It just depends. So you got to remain vigilant out there. The report summarizes that the top 100 DeFi hacks between 2016 and 2023, the accumulated total of which comes to 7.4 billion, with the majority of attacks occurring on Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, and Polygon. Halburn also warns that the majority of on-chain attacks occurred on protocols that were not audited, and that protocols lack the faulty input verification or validation is the main cause of loss in terms of smart contracts exploitation. So you gotta check that address. You have to make sure that you're sending it to the right place, that you're putting the right information there, so that it does not end up in someone else's wallet or just in the ethers, never to be returned. So Canadian crypto exchange EasyBTC accused of gambling away 9.5 million in user funds. The Canadian cryptocurrency trading platform EasyBTC and its founder David Smile are accused of gambling away approximately 9.5 million of US dollars. Regulators have found that EasyBTC diverted customer investments for personal use, including gambling. Operating between 2016 and 2019, BTC attracted significant investments, amassing over 2,300 Bitcoin and more than 600 ETH. The platform claimed that all user funds were securely stored in cold storage. They claimed, it really just is infuriating when a platform like this or a company says, this is what we have in place. And because, for security reasons, you can't verify it. We're not going to give you any of that information, and you just have to trust us. And let's see, I'm going to say no to that. And so you end up losing your crypto because what you were told is not the truth. And how do you figure out the truth when someone hides behind, oh, it's a security thing, we can't tell you, we're not going to let you know, but here's a piece of paper that says it's in cold storage. So however, in September 2019, EasyBTC went offline permanently, and by 2022, it had been officially dissolved. Investigation revealed that Smile had siphoned off nearly 1/3 of user funds for gambling and personal expenses. So thank goodness we have Caleb and Brown, because they definitely have checks and balances. They've been around so long that I trust them more and more each year because they have those checks and balances implemented, and knock on wood, that they're there for us. Bitcoin risks sharp weekend price swings as ETFs suck up liquidity. I found this really interesting. But Bitcoin has become more susceptible to wild weekend volatility since the launch of Bitcoin ETFs in the United States. Crypto analysts noted Bitcoin's liquidity has become more concentrated on weekdays, particularly the BTC US dollar markets. It noted that weekend trading volatility has generally declined since 2021 and has previously reported that Bitcoin's weekend trading volumes have dropped as institutional and ETF activity has grown. But increased move to weekday Bitcoin trading heightens the risk of sharp price swings during market stress. Unlike traditional markets that close on the weekends, crypto markets operate 24/7. This causes sell offs that start on a Friday to worsen weekend uncertainty, amplifying price impacts. So just be note of that, and we'll see what happens on the weekends. MetaMask starts rollout of blockchain-based debit credit cards. MetaMask has initiated a rollout of its new blockchain-based debit card developed by collaborating with MasterCard and crypto payment Banex. The MetaMask card is currently available in limited pilot program in Europe, in the EU, United Kingdom, with broader availability expected later in the year. The card allows users to make purchases directly with their digital assets, specifically USDC, USDT, and wrapped ETH, held on the Linear blockchain, the Ethereum Layer 2 network developed by Consensus, the same company behind MetaMask. And this could be one reason why they want some legislation, because if MasterCard and probably Visa, who knows about American Express, if they really want people to use this type of crypto, there's huge tax implications, especially if you're, doing your wrapped ETH, because ETH, is very volatile. USDC and USDT pretty much, hopefully stays at $1, but this is, has a bigger impact with keeping things stable. So we're going to go over to technology news, and here we go, MetaMask again. MetaMask users gain 2FA security via Multiverse X Snap integration. I'm not going to go. This is a lot of information, but this is not when you do 2FA. It is not native in the MetaMask wallet. It's done by the Multiverse X, which is a plugin. Now, the plugin is verified by the verification process that MetaMask has. But one of the things that kind of just, when I was reading the article, I'm like, oh, this is great. But you don't need it if you use a ledger or if you use a Trezor, because that is your 2FA, is the, having to punch in the keys. This is really geared toward people that have a MetaMask wallet that they created with their 12 words, because integrating Multiverse X's 2FA feature in a MetaMask aims to offer substantial security features improvement to MetaMask users. According to the press release, the 2FA feature is embedded into the shared protocol itself, ensuring cross-platform compatibility, but it's really protecting your 12 words. You don't necessarily need this if you have a ledger. Your ledger is doing the 2FA side of things. Hopefully everybody is doing a hardware wallet. I wouldn't do just the regular MetaMask wallet where you have the 12 words. It's too dangerous nowadays. So new Windows Smart Screen bypass exploited by 0-day since March. We're in halfway through. Yeah, we're exactly halfway through August, and this has been since March. Today, Microsoft revealed that mark of the web security bypass vulnerability exploited by attackers as a 0-day to bypass smart screen protection was patched during a June 2024 Patch Tuesday. This is another reason why to keep all your computers up to date. Smart Screen is a security feature introduced with Windows 8 that protects users against potentially malicious software when opening downloaded files tagged with a mark of the web or MOTW label. An attacker who successfully exploited this vulnerability could bypass the Smart Screen user experience. An attacker must send the user a malicious file and convince them to open it. Redmond explained in a security advisory published on Tuesday. So if you're on Windows, please make sure you're updated and don't just bypass it and say, oh, I'll do it next month. Russia blocks Signal for violating anti-terrorism laws. Russia's telecommunications watchdog, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, has restricted access to Signal encrypted messaging service for what it described as violations of Russian anti-terrorism and anti-extremism legislation. User access to the messenger signal is restricted due to violation requirements by the Russian legislators, who fulfillment is necessary to prevent the use of messenger for terrorism and extremist purposes. The statement comes after many Russian users reported experiencing problems using Signal on Friday, and IT experts said the service has been blocked by Russia. Now, there is a way to get around that. I covered that probably a year ago for people who were in Iran, and you can use a proxy. You can also have, turn on these settings. But just to show you that it is happening, if you look at this post, it shows the majority of the ISPs in Russia are just blocking Signal altogether. So there's no way around it. If they want to block you, just like the Great Wall of China, that they will block any type of thing that they find offensive in the government's mind. Well, it looks like Russia does not want people to talk to one another in a secure manner. So Mac OS Sequoia brings better gatekeeper and stalkerware protections. Apple's Mac OS Sequoia, now in beta testing, will make it harder to bypass gatekeeper warnings and add system alerts for potential stalkerware threats. Gatekeeper is a security feature that checks all apps downloaded from the internet to see if they're developer signed, which means approved by Apple, and notarized by checking an extended attribute named com.apple.quarantine that is automatically assigned by web browsers to all downloaded files, similar to Windows Mark of the Web, which we just talked about label. In Mac OS Sequoia, users will no longer be able to control, click, and override Gatekeeper when opening software that isn't signed correctly or notarized. They'll need to visit System Settings, Privacy and Security to review the security information for software before allowing it to run, Apple announced. So as things change, and when you go on to Sequoia, you will notice this change. So just be aware of it. Don't think that, something happened and you've been hacked. It's just Apple trying to protect its users from software that's not necessarily downloaded and installed from the Apple Store. Apple's trying to keep you in the store because remember, Apple gets about 30% of whatever is sold in the Apple App Store. So, they're just trying to protect their market share. And hackers could spy on cell phone users by abusing 5G baseband flaws, researchers say. A group of researchers say they have uncovered a series of security flaws in different 5G basebands, essentially processors used by cell phones to connect to mobile networks, which could have allowed hackers to stealthily hack victims and spy on them. Using a custom-made analyst tool they called 5G Base Checker, the researchers uncovered baseband vulnerabilities made by Samsung, MediaTek, and Qualcomm, which are used in the phones made by Google, OPPO, OnePlus, Motorola, and Samsung. Oh, wait, it doesn't say Apple. That's a good thing. Hassan, assistant professor at Penn State, told TechCrunch that he and his students were able to trick phones with those vulnerable 5G basebands into connecting to fake base station, essentially a fake cell phone tower. And from there, they could launch their attack. To explain that by taking advantage of the vulnerabilities they found, a malicious hacker could pretend to be one of the victim's friends and send a credible phishing message. Or by directing the victim's phone to a malicious website, the hacker could trick the victim in providing their credentials on a fake Gmail or fake Facebook site, log in and steal their credentials. So be careful. There's just lots of, there are lots of good things in the world, and there are lots of, things like this. So that's all I have, Jay, and I'm going to send it back to you.